Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Possibly the largest ever mid-season overhaul to a Call of Duty game from the competitive perspective arrives yesterday, but is it actually going to be good or bad for competitive play? Lots of debate on this last night. Of course, ranked play was meant to arrive yesterday. That never dropped. One thing that has been dropped, it seems, is GodRx. Rumours emerging overnight that GodRx is out of the Royal Ravens, and it's going to be Tyler Fellow, experienced with Clay, and on the Mutineers very recently coming into the team. Is this going to be a good change, especially when they play FaZe at their first series of the weekend? Very much on Twitter, your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. So we've got to just dive into this update yesterday because, as aBeZy says, the whole game has basically just changed. And I'm kind of mind blown. Look, we knew there was going to be an overhaul here, but I'm pretty astonished at the levels to which they went to this change. I thought they might change a couple of the hardpoint spots, you know, maybe on Skid Row, which they've changed nothing. They might move P2 from top of the hardpoint to the bottom of that kind of building. That was the type of thing I thought they might do. But no, it seems like on most maps they've basically changed everything for the competitive rotation, and well, quite possibly some of these maps might be better, some of them quite possibly might be worse. There's been lots to talk about that. The pros themselves won't really dive into the weeds on this for a little bit of time because they're still grinding the old patch update. They're going to play this next weekend of matches on the old patch. They're going to play the major on the old patch. Then they're going to have to figure out the new patch, and it is going to be a major set of differences. The patch update as well completely broke the game. Like, this might be one of the worst updates ever. Like, Warzone was completely broken. Even, like, classic things such as the CDL rules in the custom games, that was broken as well. I mean, it always is, you know what I mean? They simply cannot possibly do an update without it working. I don't know how the QA testing goes over there, but every time it seems like it's worse than last time. I simply don't understand how it can possibly be this bad. There's even people saying maybe they just have to reverse the patch because it simply ain't working. And we'll talk about ranked in a second, which was meant to arrive and, well, at least as of now, has not been the case so far. But the big changes for competitive, and there are many of them, once I imagine they iron out some of the difficulties with this patch update arriving into the game, are as follows. This is a big one, and I think this is a positive change. I guess I'm slightly concerned. What if, let's say, the pros decide, well, actually, the cruise missiles are now too strong, so we're going to have to GA them. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it's been ridiculous, I think, that trophy systems have been able to destroy cruise missiles. To be fair, even back in Black Ops 2, the Hellstorm missile could be destroyed by a trophy system if it got close. But the Hellstorm, if you guys remember, it was very rare you would actually just launch the Hellstorm straight into the ground. You would usually break it up into all the missiles, which could not be stopped by the trophy. So you were still basically guaranteed at least a kill with it. And that should be the case. You're on a 6-7 kill streak, whatever, you should be, you know, get a kill streak which actually does something and you can actually use. I mean, I think it's outrageous how useful the cruise missiles have been when you just call it in and you're basically just stuck there for 10 seconds while your cruise is going to get destroyed by a trophy. What's even the point? So this makes like perfect sense. I think it's ridiculous that like an absolute missile from the sky could get destroyed by a little field upgrade. It never made much sense to me. So thankfully that is not going to be the case anymore. Now, for the competitive side, two big weapon changes. There's been talk, understandably, about the ARs being too strong, and to be fair, the MCW has like 70% of kills in the league right now, so it probably makes sense to balance it slightly more. The Rival 9 has actually had decreased horizontal recoil slightly, so it's a little bit better now. But the main thing really is the MCW. I'm kind of confused though by these changes, because instead of actually nerfing the gun, all they've changed on that is increasing the sprint to fire time, which is, you know, 10%. It's a bit of a big deal, but it's not anything crazy. Instead of nerfing the actual gun, they've just nerfed the attachments that the pros use. So the Cyclone long barrel has got significantly worse in certain ways, as has the RB Regal heavy stock, whatever. That was the one the pros used basically. So now they're like, all right, we won't use those, and we'll instead use, this is what people have been suggesting, use the PSL claw grip on the stock, whatever it is, and then the mammoth barrel, and basically the gun is now the same again. So it's like, all right, great. What's even the point, to be honest? And as Octane says, you know, the original MCW class, yeah, sure, it got nerfed, but the reality is not sure really much has changed in terms of what the meta is going to be. This is probably a big one though. The hardpoint and rotation changes on basically every single hardpoint map. Like, I've never seen something to quite this extent. I mean, we've talked about it before with Infinite Warfare. For some reason, Infinity Wars actually actually decided to care about competitive for that like one season. They made quite a few changes that year to throwback. You guys remember the story that I often tell about the throwback uplink portal getting changed mid-event, which was a bit of a disaster, but I'm pretty sure they also changed one of the hardpoints on throwback at the early part of that game. They also played around a little bit with the bomb site, the B bomb site, I think it was on Scorch, Search and Destroy. So, you know, a few times early part of seasons, some developers, even Infinity Ward, would, you know, change a few things to try and please the competitive scene. But often what would happen is they'd get feedback from the pros or from the players, and the general feeling would be, okay, maybe change this, change that. Not overhaul the entire map. Like, they might change one or two things based on feedback. But this is what confuses me the most really about all these changes Cellium have made. It's like, they might as well have just, you know, they've just done it from scratch again without seemingly consulting the players. Like, I think the better way to go about this would say, okay, the maps are as they are. We will make some changes to certain hardpoints based on feedback and maybe get the pros to give their thoughts and maybe, you know, change the spawns on some of these maps, or maybe just, you know, change one or two of the hardpoint locations. The idea they've gone right back to scratch, I don't know if it's, you know, kind of reset us back to zero in a sense. Because while a lot of these ideas probably make sense, the spawns on these new hardpoints are still going to be a question mark. The pros are still looking at them and thinking, well, you know, it's not like we said, hey, maybe do this, do that. I'm just a little bit, you know, confused why they wouldn't go to the pro players and say, okay, this is what we're thinking of doing. We're going to expand the Burger Hill. For example, Terminal, I do think Terminal gets better. The Burger Hill now is not just inside Burger Town, but it's also stretched out here, so it's easier to contest. I think that's a positive change. But the entire rest of the map is now very different. And if they just left Terminal as it was, changed this, maybe tweaked another couple of things, and then said, okay, we're going to focus most of our effort on changing the spawns to improve those, that might have been for the better. Whereas what they've kind of done is, well, you know, changed everything, and now are we back to step one? Are we back to like square one? I don't know what you guys think about this, but this is the new Terminal, and I mean, like, this is one of the new hardpoints. What they have changed is many of the new hills are out in the open. They're like, I know Parasite described them as kind of like World War II game-esque hills, where there isn't really much cover, and therefore nades can actually do some damage. So, you know, that might be a positive thing, but it's just like they've changed everything, right? This is one of the hills. This is the new Burger Town. This is another one. I'll show you guys the rotation here in a second. Bookshop, which was P5, is now P1. So P1 is gone. Every other hill is now gone. This is another one which is going to have interesting spawns on it. And this is the new rotation, right? So it starts at Bookshop, then goes down low, then is outside of Dream. So it's not inside, it's now outside now. Then it goes to this bigger Burger Town hill, then to the one in the middle of the open. So, you know, and also like with the spawn location, surely Bookshop is going to be heavily favored P1 from the teams from security. But I guess we'll see what they want to do about that. But loads of other changes as well. Like, this is Karachi, and I'll show you guys actually some of the screenshot these in a second. But on most maps, they've changed at least 2 or 3 hardpoints, and arguably things that didn't really need to be changed. P1, P2, P3 is the same on Karachi, but P4, P5, they've made some interesting changes for sure. Invasion is now very different indeed. P1 probably didn't need to move. This is just why I don't really understand the thought process behind this, because I feel like they should have consulted someone, like some players or somebody that knew, to say, all right, what do we need to change? Because sure, Terminal needed, Terminal needed changes, but so did Invasion, and they've kept P3, they've kept P2. P1 has moved though. Like, was anyone complaining about P1? I don't really think so. P4 and P5 are new ideas, which might be good or bad. I mean, well, thankfully, I suppose, the back Palace Hill is now gone, so they've made that change, but there's just some things that feel somewhat unnecessary, right? Skid Row is the same, so don't have to worry about that. Subbase is also different. They've moved the hill on the submarine slightly further over. They've changed P3 as well to a really weird location, to be honest. The rest of that is kind of the same. And then we looked at Terminal, of course. Also, definitely want to mention Rio. I actually predicted this. Did I not call this yesterday? I'm pretty sure I said, because we saw where the 5 hardpoints were going to be. We didn't see the rotations. And I said it would probably be P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. I don't know. Maybe I got P4, P5 the wrong way around. But, you know, we know gun on this channel sometimes. People are also saying that this hardpoint map, or at least the map itself, looks a bit like, you know, because I see a few different maps in here. There's a little bit of, you know, Flak Tower. There's almost a little bit of like London Docks. You look at the overview. There's also a little bit of Arsenal, people are saying, maybe even Seaside. Also, in terms of the vibes, it's kind of like Seaside from Black Ops 4 vibe. People tend to say this map is actually really good and like it, especially for Search, but also maybe for Hardpoint as well. Just have a look quickly then at some of these hills. This is the new P1 on Invasion. It's just in the middle of the open next to the tank. It's very small. This is P4, which is massive. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking here, but this entire open area is now P4, and P5 has now changed to this area underneath where like one of the hardpoints used to be. I don't know, it's just really strange. Karachi as well, another hardpoint. This is P4 in the middle of the open. Like, this is all you've got, and there's like these barrels for cover, so that's what you got to work with. And then you've got this P5, which is now moved over here. So it's just like, was this necessary? I'm a little bit unclear, to be honest, why we needed to make these changes, and especially this one on sub base, when, I don't know, I think that most of the pros would have said, you know what, update the spawns, improve the spawns, put the focus there, rather than changing the hardpoint rotations, and now there's more spawn tweaks necessary. On some maps, I think it was needed, but I just don't see how this change on sub-base guarantees anything to be any better. I do prefer this, I'm pretty sure, the one near the submarine, but I'm still not convinced, really. And then, of course, we looked at Terminal, so we'll get to that in a second, but, you know, immediately there's been talk. For example, these are the new invasion spawns on P4, which are just all over the place, right? Because it's kind of in the middle of the map here. It's difficult to lock down any side of it, and people are going to spawn left, right, and center all over the shop. So I think invasion possibly got worse by this change, which feels remarkable to say, given that the Palace Hill was massively criticized. But I feel like there's a reasonable chance here that, yeah, invasion might need to be gone. Terminal, I think, probably gets better, but yeah, I'm just not sure on the other ones. There was also this spotted by Parasite, that the smoke grenades are going to be banned in hardpoint and control, so they found a way to do that, but to keep them allowed in search and destroy to align with the CDL rule set. But unfortunately, ranked play never arrived. And I don't know if what I said yesterday about the whole, oh, we have to do a check, was actually codenamed for, yeah, sorry, it's not going to be ready in time. But they then discovered a critical issue that they had to resolve. So I know that probably some of you guys planned your day around ranked play arriving, which never happened. So, you know, that's unfortunate if that's the case, but you just simply can't trust COD anymore to actually get anything right. And even Shotzzy and Dashy were tricking Pred into believing that it was out. I think even Pred tweeted out, ranked play, here we go. And then, you know, he obviously got exposed a little bit. And obviously he wasn't too happy when he found out that that actually was not the case at all. So when will ranked arrive? I don't know what the issues are here. Maybe some of the integration with the Treyarch stuff, with what Central have got going on, but at the end of the day, like, it can't be that hard, can it really? There was also this spotted, the SVA. Now, this weapon is not that great on paper, but it actually turns out close range, like the first couple of shots against SMG's close range, it actually can be pretty good. So the pros have already banned it. It's like, come on. I know we're going to have a two-weapon meta anyway, and the MCW isn't going away, but just the prospect of another weapon since this update being viable with a couple of MCW nerfs, and all of a sudden the pros just ban it immediately. So that's a confusing one. Octane was confused about it. But we've got to mention before we close out the video here, the GodRx Carolina Royal Ravens situation. We know this seems in a bit of a shambles right now. 3 map wins, 14 map losses. TJ Halley, maybe or maybe not, talking about how he's not so happy with the internal chemistry of that roster, and maybe he's still going to be there this weekend, given that we haven't seen anything on Real arriving quite as of yet. But this is the rumor that GodRx is going to be out of the Ravens, which is, you know, I feel kind of bad for GodRx that after all this grinding in challenges, doing a great job in challenges, comes into the league, gets slammed. He's the worst player in the league right now. And look, I think he's going to be better on LAN than online, but the reality is, I'm not sure that he's deserved or like earned his spot to play on LAN, really. So GodRx is gone. That was inevitable. The question really, who's going to come in instead? Rumor has it that it's going to be Tyler Fellow coming into play, which is, you know, it's definitely going to be a controversial move if this indeed happens, just because Fellow, while a solid player and probably one of the players that should get a spot, he's also like very much an OG player, right? He's not going to be one of these theoretically cracked out younger guys that maybe could step in and do a good slaying job. Like, I'm not sure I look at Clay and Fellow as an AR duo and I think, wow, that's going to really deliver, you know, some great slate performances. I'm not so convinced by that. But look, Clay and Fellow have some experience, and if the internal chemistry and the team dynamics are a complete mess, which they quite possibly are, then this actually does make a lot of sense. And then maybe Clay and Fellow can figure out, or maybe Saint as well, because, you know, Clay, Fellow, Saint, they were back on that United team at the end of World War II, so they've got some experience there. And even when Clay went down to challenges in the Vanguard season, we can see he played with Fellow for a bit and had some decent results as well, such as at the, you know, the CDC LCQ where they won it. It's also been spotted, it seems, that Temp is replacing Fellow on like the team that he was on, so it seems that this is basically now a done deal, and Fellow's coming in for this upcoming weekend. So we'll see if that works out. If that is confirmed, it's very much going to be a controversial move. Not exactly GodRx gone, I think everyone's kind of been expecting that, but Fellow in of the options, you know, over Brack or, you know, other top potential more slaying AR options is going to be interesting. But also also I think that in terms of team chemistry, this is probably a wise change, at least for the time being, to try and get some semblance of what identity that team wants to have going forwards. But they play FaZe and they play Thieves this weekend, so it's not necessarily going to be so easy. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. The Subliners Academy is also seemingly forming a roster. Again, Classic is meant to be here, given the fact that he's on FaZe. Kind of strange. But yeah, again, Dashy, Classic, Gunners, and Paul X. So apparently it's going to be the Subliners Academy. So pretty cool to see Subliners actually supporting the Challenger side. But again, they're picking up players that are, kind of like, well, known quantity, shall we say, rather than what other teams might have done. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Long video today. Thanks for watching as always, but still more to come later on today. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.